we can proceed. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. We would first like to start out with public comment. Time limit will be 3 minutes.
Should I test it? Oh, of course, good. So, start whenever. Okay. Good evening, Charter Commission. My name's Zach Steele, and I'm speaking tonight as a citizen, even though I am on the council. At your last charter meeting, there was a lot of discussion and, frankly, some rhetoric about nepotism on the town council. My father and I were mentioned by name, and it was implied that our serving together might cause a bad perception for the town. First, I want to make it clear, it's never been a secret that my father and I are on the council together. We were elected separately, once in 2022, once in 2024, and both having a substantial amount of votes. I think it's important to note that you can't write rules or laws based on something as subjective as perception. Perception is just an individual's interpretation, not a fact. And ultimately, if voters had a problem with it, that would have shown in the results. Instead, they chose us, fully aware of the relationship. And they'll get a chance here in the fall to decide again. I also want to clarify some items regarding nepotism. So nepotism means appointing or promoting someone based on close family relations, family or friends, which doesn't apply to public elections. And let's be honest, family connections in small town government are a thing, and they're not uncommon. And if that suddenly disqualifies someone, then we'd have certain boards be a lot smaller than they are today. There's just not a lot of people to run for these positions. And, if perception alone is a concern, because we're leaving nepotism to the side, I'd simply note that this commission could face similar perceptions if judged by the same standards. At the end of the day, this isn't about me or my father, though. It's about voters' rights. If the citizens of Winthrop decide to elect any one person or persons with the same last name or close relation, that's their right to do so. Taking away that choice isn't democratic, and it certainly isn't American. Both the 14th Amendment and the Maine Constitution safeguard those rights for equal representation. Then the 15th Amendment protects the integrity of the vote. Any attempt to limit those voters may choose, any attempt to limit whose voters may choose on any basis, including family name, directly undermines those constitutional guarantees. Lastly, I want to thank each of you for your service. I know it takes a lot of time and energy to do this, and I respect that. I just encourage you to please focus that effort on reasonable and purposeful changes that make Winthrop stronger. Thank you for your time and your commitment to the town.
Thank you, Zach. Any other public comment? Item number 15 on the agenda is the review and discussion of Article 4 of the Town Charter, which is the Department of Education. It's section 401, Superintending Board of Education. Just some wording changes in that 401 section from Department of Education to Winthrop Public Schools, just kind of simplifies it. And change Board of Education to School Board in that section. Is there any discussion on that? Yes, we do. We have Dr. Foley, I believe, and Alicia, who is the chairman of the board? Yeah. No other school board members, right? No. Yes, section 402. Was,
Matters relating to qualifications and vacancies shall be governed by MRSA Title 30.
that should be Title 20A in the state statute. Qualifications, just a question I'm going to put out there to the commission as well as to the public here. Shall we add the same qualifications for a school board member as we have for town councilors? Just putting it out there. And basically members shall, what the town council qualifications is, members shall be registered voters of the town and shall reside in the town during their term of office. If a council member shall cease to be a registered voter or be convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude or punishable by imprisonment of 1 year or more, his or her office shall immediately become vacant. That's what's stated in the charter for council members. Don't know if the school board or Winthrop Public Schools, if we want school board members to have that same qualification in this charter as a council member would have. Any discussion?
If not mistaken, the council rules state that if you're convicted of a felony prior to, while you're in office, you relinquish your seat. Those same rules should apply to a school board member, I would think. So those provisions should carry over in all fairness. And prior to your application, well, if you're a convicted felon, can you vote? I don't know. You can in the state of Maine? I don't know, there should be a disclosure or some segment. I'm not sure if we have that in the application for town council. When does it state as a question, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Does it say that, Anthony? Do you recall? Sorry to get that hard.
So I'm going to defer to the town clerk because she handles the nomination papers.
There you go, Deb.
No, it does not. When you take out nomination papers, there's no guarantee that you'll be elected. So it's not specified in the nomination papers.
So I do not believe there's any disclosures or disqualifications of someone who's been convicted of a for running for office.
It's not, we certainly could add it to the nomination papers if this is in the charter, but it's not currently in there. People convicted of a crime in Maine can vote legally, so.
Alicia,
People that are convicted of a crime in Maine still have retained the right to vote. Yep.
and Alicia, could you maybe address, is when you're on the board, are you getting background checks? Do you get fingerprinted? And you do, right? No, not serving on the board. There's not a background policy or check. Okay. Yeah, okay, okay.
They do fingerprinting.
My question was, do they do fingerprinting and background checks for bus drivers? And the reply was, as I understood it, was yes.
Just clarifying, are you asking whether school board members are considered employees of the district?
The school
Okay.
bus drivers are employees of the town.
Yes, that's correct. So I wasn't sure if you were trying to create a parallel there.
Because I know with their license. the bus drivers are under this regulation where if they've been convicted of a crime or something, work the town or the school department, as I understand it.
Alicia, can you speak to the fact of what the board members' interactions are with students or the schools? Can you speak to, are you going into the classroom? Do you have, are there children, that are being exposed to the board members?
Absolutely. So it's pretty limited. Though last year we did have some board learning opportunities where board members could go into the schools and go into a classroom with a teacher who would then, give us some education on whatever topic. We've done school tours, but we don't really interact with students, of course, unless we are volunteering in addition, which is something that I did.
Gotcha. And if you're volunteering, you would then have further background checks. Is that correct?
That
Dr.
is
Foley?
correct.
Okay. And then, but you do have 2 school members or student representatives on the school board, correct?
That's correct.
So that's something that you guys think about.
Yeah. Any other questions? Good.
Opportunity to adopt language in the charter that would govern
Yes, you could do that. And I think there needs to be a distinction. Employees of the school district, bus drivers, teachers, staff, so forth, that's covered by policy. So,
Right.
so right now, if you look at the title of the article that you're looking at, it's Board of Education. So I think your focus needs to be fully on the school board at this moment.
Okay,
Hi, I'm trying to help out a little bit. James Steele, citizen, so I'm also on the council. I do have my school bus driver's license and you are fingerprinted and it's documented because you are with children. As far as school board as an elected official, I think it probably should follow the same guidelines as an elected official, just kind of like with the town council. You kind of follow those same rules. Those are just my quick thoughts. I was just listening to you guys, but to clarify that the bus drivers, that they are fingerprinted and identified. Thanks.
thank you. So back to,
I have a suggestion that might simplify things. We have the town council code of ethics, and we could just put elected officials code of ethics. That might just cover the whole school board's elected. That might just uncomplicate and simplify, cover everything. I know through the Rotary working in the school system, you have to get a background check. There's no way around it. And nobody goes through those doors without a background check.
so should we add the same qualifications for a school board member as we do council members in the town charter under the Winter Public Schools?
Can I make a suggestion?
Would-
Can we just do matters within the qualifications of vacancies shall be governed by article, whatever the article is that mentions the town council and titles or title 20A and just call it good? That way you're mentioning the exact same article, same qualifications plus 20A.
Which basically I just spelled out.
That's exactly right. Just put that in there and be good with it.
Wouldn't disagree.
So moved.
No, make the motion. I'll second it.
I make a motion to, amend it as matters within the qualifications of vacancies shall be governed by article
28.
20A and title, well, governed by article, we need to, section 202 and titles 20A of the main Rod statute.
I could have never gotten through that, but I second that motion.
Okay, there you go. Sure, Deb's going to say I said it perfectly in the notes, so it's, yeah.
You did. You need to slow down.
Okay.
Banker errors.
Everybody in favor?
Is on Zoom. To vote, you can chime in. You just have to unmute yourself.
Yes. Unanimous vote. Carry vote. Section 403, organizations, qualifications, quorum. The members of the Board of Education shall meet the first Monday in January after their election, organized at its first meeting each January. The members-elect shall be sworn to the faithful discharge of their duties by the Justice of the Peace or the town clerk, and a record made thereof. The majority of the whole number of the Board of Education shall be a quorum, and they shall elect their own chairperson, vice chairperson, and finance committee. In section 403, there's no mention of any type of qualifications. I think we just discussed qualifications as part of section 402, so I think I would remove that. I suggest that we remove that. And then the change first Monday in January to their first meeting in January, because I don't believe you meet on Mondays, you meet on Wednesdays. Am I correct? Just remove Justice of the Peace. We have a town clerk, and she can handle swearing every member, school board member in. And usually, typically, that's done prior to the first meeting anyways, right? So we don't need that in there as well. And the majority of the whole number, why don't we just say there's 5 members of the school board, a majority vote would be 3 members. Why don't we just say 3 members of the school board shall constitute a quorum? Any discussion? Comments?
Need a motion.
Good evening, Dr. Foley.
Good evening. I'm trying to think quickly, and I think it will still be covered. We did have for a while only a 4-member board while we were waiting, but we would still need 3 in that case. So I think that does work. At first, I was trying to think of a time it might not work, but thank you.
Thank you.
And make a motion to approve section 403 and eliminate it.
All in favor? Abby, you good with that? Everything's good? No comment? Section 404, powers and duties of the school board. School board shall have all the powers conferred and shall perform all the duties imposed by law upon the superintending boards of education regarding the care and management of the public schools of the town, except as otherwise provided in this charter. Annually, the school board shall adopt an itemized budget detailing proposed expenditures, anticipated receipts, and projected balances. And the Board of Education's budget estimate shall be presented to the town manager and the town council at least 90 days, at least 60 days, it says now. The change we would like to make there is 90 days prior to the start of the new fiscal year. Each school board member shall be entitled to receive as salary the sum of, which today it says $300 in the old charter. Today it's $1,000 per year for all services rendered. The chair and the vice chair receive $1,500 a year. Such compensation may be changed by vote of the council. So the changes basically that we are recommending is that the 60 days go to 90 days, just to give our town clerk some time to prepare ballots and public hearing schedules. These, that's about the only change I have. And the change where we need to update the compensation for the chair and the vice chair, as well as the school board members. Any discussion?
What does, Anthony, what does the town council members, what are they paid every year?
Zip.
Town councilors are paid $20 per meeting, up to a maximum of $750 per year.
Just my feeling is, these council people put in a lot of time as well. I know the school board does too, but I question, why are we paying 1,000 when we're paying these guys $20 a meeting, $750 a year?
I think that was brought up when we were discussing town council in Article 2, where I think there were some suggestions made to increase, and there was some discussion about that. So, I think before we submit, our final draft to the council for their approval, we can revisit that in section 2 and make a change. And Anthony, if you have any comments, feel free.
I'd like to make a motion to table section 404.1, line item budget for the next meeting. The commission, give us further time to study that out.
Well, we're on section 404, powers and
sorry.
duties.
What did I say? 404.
Yeah, where it mentions
Line item budget. We're in a different topic.
4041 is line item budget. 404 discusses the powers and duties and the
Okay.
compensation.
Please, I'll revise that then. I'll table it to 404 for further discussion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Discussion first?
Oh, discussion.
Does this include the part we were talking about, either reducing the school board salaries or increasing the town council salaries?
Would be reducing the school board salaries to be commensurate with town council.
Well, speaking strictly for myself, I would just as soon not get paid, even $20 a meeting. And if you do the numbers, $750 would be an impossible number of meetings to do if you do the math to get the full 750. But I would just as soon not get paid. And we have the school board is a really, really difficult and responsible job. And I just don't think we should mess with the status quo. That's the discussion from me. Tabling's fine, but
Real quick, I agree with you, Andy. I think that raising our, benefits as far as town council is concerned as a serving member is not worthwhile for the town, right? And so I think legally by the state, I think we have to have some sort of compensation. I could be wrong on that, but I do think there has to be some. And if there's going to be some, I think we just keep it flat right now. That's just my 2 cents for this topic.
I was originally told years ago that we had to change the charter to reduce our pay. And here we are changing the charter. So that's why I'm speaking up.
We can reduce it too. I think legally you have to have some compensation, but I'm fine with where it's at or lower, right? I agree with Andy on that one. So, but.
Well, I just want to point out though that the town council did vote to increase the pay as it is. And so I don't necessarily think we need to table this to have another discussion. And I would suggest that if the town council can change the rate anyways, why do we even put a number in there? Why not just leave it to the town council can make that decision on the compensation?
They can change that.
Well,
We needed to update the charter because the charter stated $300.
but why do we need to put a number in there? Could we not just say that the town council can, compensation may be determined by the town council, and then we don't have to
Good
keep
point.
updating this.
Yes.
Yeah.
We determined initially by the, now remember, we're governing we're changing the governing legislation for the town on what sets. So initially, they probably had to start somewhere.
Yep.
And then, but I do believe the issue was brought up whether, so regardless if the town council compensation wanted to be changed, that would have to go out to a vote and be approved by the voters regardless. So I think the discussion had been here, why are we not putting any compensation for the board out to vote the town as well? Why is that a duty of the town council?
They were the ones that voted it for themselves. I think that, I don't know if this is possible, but, if we do have to issue compensation, say you have your choice, you can take $300 or $750. We'll donate, you'll get $100 and we'll donate $500 to Dr. Foley's or the board chair's favorite charity or some usefulness within the school.
There was some mention of that when we were talking about town councilor pay, that the town can't designate where that money's
Okay.
going. They need to send you personally a check, and you so choose to do with it. If you want to donate to the food bank, the church, whatever, it's your call. But the town can't do that on a council member or a school board member.
I've been told that years ago that one or two school board members did donate their stipend to the Winthrop school nurse for poor little kids that didn't have a hat or mittens or boots. And I got a couple of them donated their stipend. So the school nurse at her discretion could go purchase the warm clothing for the students who in need.
Yeah, I think we have some council members that probably do that today. Yeah,
Just a quick comment. I wanted to bring to your attention that council members are paid $20 per meeting per attendance, whereas here with the school board, it's a discrepancy where they're paid for all services rendered. So depending on whether or not they go to their meetings, they're paid that. I'm not making an argument for or against. I'm just bringing it to your attention that it's a discrepancy.
So again, back to, I'm not sure. So we do have a motion on the floor to table. And Matthew brought up the point that we're might not want a table, so we do still have to have that vote. If there's any further discussion, I think we can get through this tonight, so I would
right. I agree.
move to continue that discussion, but we do.
I withdraw the motion.
You, okay.
Hey, Matt,
So,
Pete, what you said earlier about the line item?
Absolutely. My recommendation would just be then that last, so each member of the school board shall be entitled to receive as salary or a sum, or may receive a salary as compensation determined by a vote of the council. Or something along those lines, if somebody has a better wording, but I think if the council's can change it as is, we don't need to put a number in there. But I understand what you're saying is that if the council's compensation is, but the difference may be is that is the school budget, correct me if I'm wrong, but the school budget comes through the town council, right?
then, no, well, yes, I mean, they get approval, but Anthony, I would almost, where does the compensation for the board come from? Where is it in the budget?
Well, it's in the school budget,
Okay, so
but to
I
answer,
would say that by statute, we're actually barred from doing anything with the school budget. So I don't know why that's in there.
yeah, so to answer your question, Matthew, statutorily, the only authority that the council has in regards to the school budget is the bottom line figure. So they don't determine line item cost, just the bottom line figure.
Understood. Okay.
I do think that that leaving that in as it is creates potential conflict down the line if the school board, I mean, if the town council decided to say, nope, we're going to decrease their stipend or change it, then there could be a challenge saying that, well, you don't actually have that authority. You only have, because it comes out of a budget line item within their budget. So I would almost want to say that if we amend the charter to put it as a function of the voters to set the compensation, and then we make that determination as the charter as to what that means, whether it's per meeting stipend or and what those limits would be.
Well, from what I understand, you as a council member, the town council approves the school budget. The lump sum bottom line school budget, but you could make recommendations to the school board, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, but you can make recommendations to the school board to say, hey, 5 board members at 1,000, vice chair and chair at 1,500, we want to cut that back. That'll eliminate, a couple $1,000. When you look at the big picture, is it a lot of money? And is the council going to do that, right? So you still have to approve it, then you can make recommendations on where they need to make a cut, correct? Anthony?
The council could make those recommendations. The school board is not obligated to follow the council's recommendation in that regard.
But in that sense, then they would have the ability to be setting their own compensation. Which is
So,
what I think this was trying to address, was trying to get it away from that. But at the same time, it also creates the illusion that the school board is subordinate. Kind of has to answer to the council, which I think is statute from the state's intent is to take that.
yes, but having said that, the council could come to the determination. We think, I'm going to use a nice round number. We think $5,000 for school board salaries is too much. We think it should be half that. And so,
Who is we?
I'm talking as a council person here. I'm obviously not on the council, but I'm playing the role of a counselor right now. This is a theoretical discussion that we're having right now. So council could say, we think that's too much. We think it should be half that. We're going to reduce your line item budget by $2,500. Now, the school district at that point could decide, you know what, we are going to half everyone's salary, or they could decide, well, you know what, we're just going to cut $2,500 out of some other line item and continue to pay the school board members what they're being paid. So you can try to influence that, but at the end of the day, the school board would still have the authority to determine what its line items would be.
So in that 404, such compensation may be changed by vote of the council is not accurate in this charter. Because you're saying we cannot, we can recommend as a council member where they need to make some cuts. We're not for this $5,000 stipend to the board members, but they could go back. The school board could go back and say, well, or superintendent, the chairman of the board say, okay, we're still going to pay our people the same. They're not going to know where the $2,500 comes from. Right.
Jim, you have raised a point I haven't considered, but I think you're exactly right.
I think that we need to put a figure on it.
Not that it
that's
would ever-
reasonable.
What's Dr. Foley?
We're not doing this for today. We're doing this for the future. In another 15 years, maybe we'll sit together. Oh, I probably won't.
I hope
but-
so.
I have a thought.
Dick, can we wait and
Oh,
let
I'm
Dr. Foley speak? Thank you.
So we've been following the charter as written. So the last time this happened was, I think, in 21, before my time. And the board voted to make the recommendation that it increase to the 15, to the 1,000 and the 1,500. And then per the charter's language, that went to the town council, who then voted on it. I don't think there's any history of where the board ignored the council's advice. They followed the charter. So in that case, if the town council had said no, then it would have remained at 300. So I think that I agree with Mr. Colpitts that you could take the sum out, the amount, and just leave the rest of the language in there. Shall be entitled to receive as salary the amount for all services rendered as determined by the vote of the council. And then I think that would allow you the choice if you think the board is currently being paid too much to bring that, to the attention of the board. They could discuss it and come back and make a recommendation if you so chose. I think that would be the simplest solution to that. I will say, I don't know much about the town council, but I will tell you that each board member, in addition to going to the meetings, they serve on 2 committees that also have regular meetings. So Alicia serves, I think, on finance and CATC, and so that there are other meetings that they have. And I don't know whether the town council also has similar committees subcommittees that they serve on. But I did want to just bring that detail to you.
Thank you.
Town councilors do participate in other meetings. Sorry, Dick. Go ahead. They do participate in committees. They're also liaisons to certain committees. So there's a direct communication with that counselor at that meeting. And they go back and report to town council.
We have two council members on this commission. Go ahead, Dick.
Just curious, not just the school board, there's a lot of boards on the town of Winthrop. Why couldn't there be language in there stating that the council will recommend a stipend per member of the school board, the planning board, the whatever board you have? And so kind of balance it out so everything's kind of equal at their discretion, and use it as a discretionary thing. They want to do it, do it. If they say, no, we work too hard, we want more money, then it's up to them. But just think maybe it would be a good idea for the council to be able to have that discretion to use it as a discretionary thing for all boards, not just the school board, all boards.
So recommending a fixed stipend for all boards,
Right,
same amount.
right.
On some boards, they don't derive any kind of compensation.
You know, if one board does a lot more than another board, then they can.
I would say then I would add into that, Dick, that there should be then, if you took that approach, I would say there should be language in there that would say annually reviewed and determined compensation or something to that effect. I'm curious as the kind of the appointed council person here, since we have council members here, what their opinions are, or give me, like, are you comfortable leaving this in the authority of the council to set the school board's compensation? Is that something, can you guys stand up and kind of give me your thoughts? Because ultimately this is going to have to pass the council.
I would be comfortable with that, particularly if it's a recommendation. I mean, we're not actually saying we don't have the authority to designate. We have the authority to provide a recommendation, and
Well, as it's written right now, the council would have the authority to set, and they're the only ones that would be able to set their compensation right now as it's written.
yeah.
So if we keep it that way, then we would ultimately be the ones making decisions up or down.
I mean, I think it would, historically, since I've been there, I mean, we would all obviously take any considerations from any of the boards and, hear it out as we're doing it anyway. I mean, I would be comfortable doing it.
James Steele. Because she's kind of throwing this at me and you're trying to spin it in my head how quickly I can come up with a thing. But for your discussion, I think the way Dick has presented it, I think it could be just be flat across the board. And then I'd add Matt's, just don't put a compensation number in there. And that way they can decide on a number. So when they do decide to give themselves a boost, it's across the board, across all elected bodies or all board members that get compensated. That way it's not a reward just for that one group, so to speak. But there's a lot going on this whole thing right now, but I do like not having a set number in there. I think that anybody that has served, whether it's the school board, council, we don't do it for the money. You do it for the community. I think it's a big part of it. So, I'm not doing it for the compensation. I don't think anybody is. It's just like, many of you folks probably coached your kids, baseballs or any type of sports through schools and stuff. There's not much stipend there either. So, you do it because of the love and you're doing it for, for the community and for the people. But I really think that Matt hit the nail on the head. I don't think you should put a number in there just because you're reviewing the charter every 15, 20 years or whenever it needs to be done. And I think Dick's right. Just put one flat number, then nobody feels like somebody's getting rewarded more than the other. So it's flat across the board and it's done.
I think I fall somewhere against some of what he said and with it. So I think that it's better to put a number in there, right? Because then you just have it set and then you'd be able to revisit it when you rewrite the charter, right? And then you just true that number up if we write it in there now. If we don't do that, then we're going to leave a lot of subjectiveness to like who's on the council, who's on the school board. I'd prefer to see it in there written down, $750 or $1,000 straight up written in the thing. And then with the expectation this should be revisited in like 10, 15 years. So I just think that it kind of absolves all responsibility of any of the boards. So, but those are my thoughts. So, yeah.
Jim. Yeah, I kind of agree with Zach. If we write it in, it's dealt with and it's over with. 10 years from now, we review the charter again, we review that again. Okay, I also wouldn't care. If it's not legal to not pay the council, then fine, the $20 is fine. Okay, we're never going to make it to the 750. Sorry, Dick, but I don't agree with, I hate to use the word, compensating the zoning board, the planning board, the downtown beautification committee. That's a whole big can of worms. Those folks are volunteers with the best interest of the community in mind. And but yeah, them two, I mean, they put a ton of time in, but they volunteered. They were appointed. And just like I was, just like you were. And I just think we're opening an expense and a whole new can of worms and a whole subject. And everybody, all the local boards will suddenly think they're entitled to some money. And when we're negotiating who works longer hours, and I think it's a can of worms we got to avoid. Need to leave things more or less as they are.
My thought was is try to keep it somewhat equal to all the board members, They all work out. Maybe they all need a get that service.
Try to look at it the other way. There's a paucity of volunteers in town for all of our various boards. So do we want to attract people to the boards because they're going to get paid, or do we just want to do our best to attract people that want to help the town?
To be honest with you, I don't think there's
Jack and
anybody.
Andy, I'll just say, if people are going to be on the school board for $1,000 a year,
That's not
we got a
really,
problem.
no.
They have a problem. So, they're not paying bills with that, right? They're doing it because they want to do it. They're involved in it. I'd like to make a motion so it reads this way. School board members will receive $1,000 per year. Chair and vice chair will receive $1,500 per year for all services rendered. Such compensation may be changed by vote of the council. I just want to leave it as it is. I'd like to make a motion to keep it that way.
Motion to leave it as it is.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Dick? We've had enough discussion. No, I'm just kidding. I think we beat a dead horse on this one.
Okay.
No. In favor? All in favor? Carry. Next, line item on the, I shouldn't say line item, next section on Article 4, Winthrop Public Schools. Line item, school budget. As per the town attorney, there's really no need for line items in this section as it no longer conforms to state law. The council only has the authority to approve or reject bottom line budget. So the entire section in this charter can be removed. Any discussion?
I'll make a motion that we strike 404.1.
Seconded by Gil. Any discussion? All in favor?
I'm not yet. I oppose that. I vote negative on that. Thank you.
That's it. That ends our meeting on Article 4. Which is item 15 on our agenda. Item 16. Review and discussion of Article 2 on the issues of term limits, nepotism, and conflicts of interest. I have. Thank you, ladies.
Council's concerned. The town council spell out that you actually need to state that you have a conflict of interest and ask permission not to vote. And what that does is it avoids people from not voting on a really controversial issue, sort of ducking the issue. You have to have a legitimate.
discussion on term limits when we were discussing council. So we can impose term limits through the charter. Right now, we don't have term limits. And our recommendation is no council shall serve more than 3 consecutive terms, and meaning 3 years, three-year terms in a row. All right, so you could, after your term is up, be absent for a year, you could run again. Doesn't mean you'll never be able to run for town council again, but I think that opens up opportunities for other members in the community to bring in new ideas, share thoughts, and what have you. So today, we have no limit. There's no term limit. And I know sometimes it's difficult to get people to run for boards and council in small towns. But I think, you know, at a certain point of serving that kind of time on the council, some people may just get that vote because they've been there so long. And people know that name. So I think the most important thing is to give everybody in the community an opportunity to run, to bring in fresh new ideas to the community to improve the community. So my recommendation is that we add to the charter that no council member shall serve more than 3 consecutive terms.
Jim,
Who do I go to first?
I don't care. I'm going to be
I
quick
think
if you
Gil
want.
was up first.
You're
I
smoking
think
enough.
Jamie was up second. How about we have public comment?
James Steele again. I wrestled with this probably a long time and thought of it. You know, first thoughts were, yeah, it's not a bad idea. But then I think of other branches of government, other things that are happening out there. I mean, our U.S. Senate, you know, Senator Collins has been in there, and, you know, if people didn't like what she did, they could have voted her out. If people didn't like the way a council member is, they have every opportunity. They could have voted them out, you know, if they feel that they've been there too long. Sometimes being new, I'm no well experienced council member, but I've been on there half a year and a full term. It's nice to have some experienced council members on there to help guide you, ones that will help you kind of coach you along what needs to take place and how things go. But my feeling is it's on the table. Everybody knows, like, and I'll just use Linda for example, because I think she's been on there quite a long time. And, you know, I don't want to feel like maybe you're targeting somebody who enjoys doing, you know, the good of the town and contributing to being a citizen here. I just think it's important. If people felt Linda was here too long, they definitely could have, you know, said, no, we're not going to vote for her. Let's make a change. You know, let's have somebody else new in there. And, you know, what do you do when you have somebody's uncontested? You know, what if we don't have enough people to even on the ballot to fill, because we're putting this rule in place. So I don't want to limit the pool of people, because everybody has the opportunity to. I think the last 2 elections were at least 5, 6 people that were running, and now there's 3. I mean, I think probably Bruce, when you ran, there wasn't too many people running. I went.
My first term, there was nobody. I ran unopposed.
Yeah.
My second term, I did have to run.
Yeah.
There was 3 empty positions.
Yeah. And I think
So-
with me and Mick, when me and Mick
But
ran,
I-
we ran as together. So I just think we just want to be careful about limiting the people that are doing something right, because it's all it comes down to the end of it. The charter's writing it, but it is up to the citizens and the voters of this town. They're the ones that are putting people in. So if everything's up front and out in the open, and they know that Linda's been on there or Jim Steele's been on there, and it's been 30 years he's on there, then and they decide that, and I want to run again, and they want to put me on there, fine. Or same with Andy. I mean, everybody has the right to make that selection to vote for who they like. So thanks.
That's why my name keeps getting popped out of.
So I guess I'd like to, oh, sorry.
Sorry, Sandy. Go ahead.
Just think when you're saying that, it's important to look at the past history, and there aren't that many people coming up here to run for anything. So if you limit that, you're closing the pool of people off. Just because you put term limits is not going to mean people are going to come out of this town and say, oh, I'm gonna run now. They're just not. So then you're gonna run into that situation where you don't have enough people to fill those seats. And now you've put that hold that you can't get out of because the people that do want to run can't run. And I don't see people pouring through the door this time. There's a whole nother session coming up and there are only 3 people on there. So if the reasoning is to get more people, I'm not sure that's the correct way to go about it. And again, it is up to the public. The public does vote who they want in. And to take that right away from them to choose who they vote for, that's just a bit concerning. I think we're starting to dabble into situations that we shouldn't be in. It's freedom to vote for whoever you want to vote for. And everybody should have the right to run, no matter how many times they've got in, because the community will decide who takes that spot.
Sandy. Tim, go ahead.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Tim Adams. I just wanted to reiterate on a little bit of what Sandy said, actually, and I think that we are. I'd caution against limiting the numbers, just because, like she said, you're really going to be limiting the folks that are doing good things. And the reality is there's no real limit on how many people can compete for an open seat. So just because a counselor is up for re-election, that doesn't mean they have to keep winning it. Like, there's nothing stopping anyone from pulling out their own papers, collecting some signatures, and running for office. And I think that also really goes hand in hand with the compensation. I serve on the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee as well. And I know one of the big things on there is actually trying to encourage young people to participate in local government and be involved in things. And while I don't think compensation should be high or anything crazy, I do think there needs to be somewhat of a carrot to entice people to want to do things, to work for stuff, because the reality is not everyone has a ton of free time at their disposal when they're juggling kids and a bunch of other priorities and cooking dinners and working 9 to 5. Like, a lot of these jobs, especially like on any of the boards or anything, do require a lot of time from people, whether it's chairing or vice chairing or even just being a member. I think we want to ask a lot of people and just try and rely on like their altruism as like I'm going to make the community better because it's the right thing to do. I think there needs to be a legit carrot in place to entice folks. And I don't think it has to be a lot, but I do think current compensation should be looked at again in the future. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. I tend to agree with the previous speakers about limiting the number of terms. And I guess a couple examples tonight, Aaron and Bruce bringing back some history from years past, or in some cases, maybe decades, I don't know. But again, that stuff is valuable to the community and to the town council, and obviously to this commission when we're making decisions. So having some folks who grew up with some of the reasoning and as to why these things were done, I think is critical. And so limiting it to 9 years or whatever, 3 terms, I think is detrimental to that process. And then number 2, how do you handle write-ins? You know, you have a year where there's 3 openings and 2 folks have taken out the papers, and one person is getting kicked out, but he runs a write-in campaign, gets 250 votes. He's getting a 4th term unless you're really prepared to say, no, get out of here. 250 votes is not right. So that's the caution I guess I would throw out there. 250 votes should be pretty easy to get for somebody who's been you know, three term or even double term. So thank you.
Thank you, Gil.
I have a comment. I'm online. I don't.
Go ahead, Linda.
Hi, I think, Linda Caprera, I serve also on the town council. I've just got you on speakerphone, so I'm heading in. I had to I apologize. I had to leave quickly, but I'm coming back. But I think some of the term limit discussion was directed, well, not primarily, but at the number of terms I've served. I will just say this, I've had a pleasure serving the council for as long as I have. And I think that, the folks in the town, if they they have a choice to vote or not vote for somebody. It doesn't matter how long you serve. And, if you don't want to vote for somebody, then don't vote for them. I think that people have a right, to run. Term limits, I think even at the state level has been a disaster, I think. It doesn't have you don't have the quality of having institutional memory of things that you've dealt with over the time. And we've dealt with a lot of things, that have been repetitive over the years. But, I think that people have a right to vote for who they want on a council or any board. And if you're not doing a good job, I know when people vote, they will vote you out if they don't feel you are. But I think that everybody should have the right to run and run, and again, the voters are going to decide who is going to be, who's going to win and who's not. So as far as I'm concerned, I think some of that was directed at me. Apparently there was some mention of the number of years I've served, but again, the voters have voted me in. If they, Zach has mentioned with the nepotism issue, they have free choice. They can vote for who they want. So I would just, encourage folks to think about that before you go changing things just to, for the sake of changing them. People in this town have a voice and they should have a right to exercise that voice, particularly in the voting booths. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Linda.
I'm up in the air. There's good arguments on either side of this. Solid arguments. Maybe we should think about, I've been told, with all the time I've served the town, that the institutional memory, I could ask questions about what happened 20, 25 years ago, and I'm able to answer them. But I'm getting a little older now. My memory's starting to pay the price. But, so there's a huge value in institutional memory. On the other hand, without term limits, it precludes new faces, new voices on the council with new opinions and new insights in a whole new age. 9, 10 years is a long time socially, and things change. Maybe we could go to 4 terms and inclusive of any time served prior to fill in like a vacancy or something. So you could effectively do 16 years. And if you got to get in on the last year, if somebody had to leave, you could do that extra year. You wouldn't consider that a term. I'm kind of up in the air on it. When time comes to vote, I can't even tell you which way I'm going to think. I know that I do enjoy listening to Linda sometimes when she talks about what happened in the past or that isn't going to happen again. And I'm like, okay, what happened before? So there's that.
Thank you, Andy. Any other Gil, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I think to counter that argument, Andy, we've got Aaron, we've got Zach, we've got Shannon, we've got Roy. We've got a lot of new faces in the last, 3 or 4 years. So I really don't think the push for new faces is necessary by limiting the institutional voices to 3 years or 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick?
I guess my opinion's a little different. Talked to quite a few people about both these issues. And the new faces, and if it was me and I was voting, I can tell you right now, I would vote for no more than a 3-year term. And I think that it should be up to the citizens of the town of Winthrop. And I think it should be on a ballot. Do you want to implement these kinds of things, this
Term limit.
term limit? I think it's not just us. I think it needs to be the whole doggone town. How do they feel about it? How do the taxpayer and the people that live here feel about it? I don't, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see it put on a ballot and let the taxpayers and the citizens of the town of Winthrop vote for it. And
I
if
would
they vote
support that.
no, then that's fine. If they vote yes, then we got to live with it. It's nothing to do with Linda. Linda's done a great job. She's worked for a long time and other people have for a long, Bill Hafley was on for 150 years, you know, and he did a good job. But it just, you know, I think that it's a very important issue. And I think that the decision should be made, excuse me, by the taxpayers. And that's my opinion.
Dick?
I would support it.
Roy?
Just one quick comment to, well, kind of follow up to Dick's. They are, in a way, well, not in a way, they are, the taxpayers or the citizens of the community do make the decision every November when they go in and vote. And I think that it's very important that that voice, that input, that ability to go in and contribute to what goes on in the community doesn't get taken away from them. A vote, you know, if they're not happy, as the community is not happy with a particular person, it doesn't matter who it is. They're there, you know, they come up every 3 years and they have the opportunity to vote them out, vote somebody new in. And that's just my opinion.
Thank you, Roy.
I really like Dick's idea, kind of we duck the question completely, leave it up to the voters.
It's an important issue.
We have a comment online.
On the comments from Shannon McDonald, I personally am grateful for the experience Linda contributes to the council. There have been circumstances where she has stepped back and said, I think we should reconsider our position here, and it has paid dividends. I also am grateful for the mix of perspectives and experiences we have on the council. I think it's important for candidates to take the time to meet with individuals in the community and really gain insight on what their vision is for our town.
Mr. Chair? Isn't the voting for something like this a citizens initiative? Doesn't it have to come from the 25% of the?
So Deb, it would have to be brought to the town clerk. And if a petition to get on for, say, a ballot initiative for term limits, questions about term limits, something that would be brought to you, correct? Or can the council also do that?
I have a question.
I thought we could put things on the ballot.
Deb would know.
Steve, can you clarify the question again?
The question would be term limits. Is that a citizens initiative, or can the town council vote to put that on the ballot? Does it have to come from a number of signatures from the citizens group? I think it's 25% now of the folks who voted in the last election. Their signatures.
So if it's in the charter, as it stands, that they serve 3-year terms, what their terms are, then that can only be changed by a vote of the town.
So that's the term limit is 3 years.
So I think what they're talking about is taking that section out and making it a town issue.
Town vote.
Referendum.
They want a referendum vote on term limits from the town. They want it on the ballot.
I don't know why they couldn't do that. I think you need 10% of the last gubernatorial candidate, whoever voted in the last gubernatorial election, you need 10% of the voters registered in Winthrop to sign a petition to do so.
It might have gotten changed to 25 at one point.
I thought it was.
But I would question why you would do that where you wouldn't want to just put that in the charter.
because we have no, we're not the entire group of citizens. We're a small group of folks making that decision.
Well,
That were
And if
voted
it's-
on by the citizens of the town.
Say that again, Bruce?
Can I just interject something here, point of order? Would it be, our charge has been to change the charter. The charter, once approved by town council, goes to a referendum.
The town council
Correct.
does not approve the charter that you are the governing body for that. It goes directly to the
To the
voters.
voters.
The council has no say in what your final document is,
If we put that,
other than
in-
as a citizen.
there's no initiative or special vote. It's part of the charter change, and on the ballot, it will outline the changes of the charter.
Correct.
Are you in
correct.
favor or not?
Correct. And there'll be public hearings, and so there'll be chance for public to get clarified why you did what you did and what you're presenting to them.
So just to clarify, because I asked the town attorney this question, whether or not the changes go to the voters en masse or whether you could put it sort of item by item. And the attorney said you could do either. Now, with the number of changes that we're probably going to end up with, that'd be a super long ballot and it'd be a real chore for voters to work through, but that is an option under the statute.
But if we do that, we don't have to, in all likelihood, we don't have to list out every change we made, only the real biggies. Like,
Well, I mean, at that point, you'd be looking at a repeal and replace. So you'd be
Right.
repealing the current charter and replacing it with the new charter, with all the
Well-
changes that you have recommended.
right,
And I guess that's the issue with all the changes we're going to be recommending. I don't want this to get buried, on page 15,
I agree with
there's a sub note, so.
I think that what we need to do is modify these changes, consolidate them so some of them are perfunctory that they need to be eliminated. The language is old or whatever. Those aren't what I would say necessarily, but if you look at the key issues that we're talking about here, and never has there been a personal attack on any members of the council or term limits or references to Linda Caprera at all. I served 6 years with you. I mean, the experiences that you had were invaluable at times. My point is that those questions should be presented to the voters and in a referendum, and not to make it a long, laborious thing because you only have maybe a minute of people's attention. List the primary fundamental changes that you're recommending and ask for a vote on those referendum or those charter changes.
so what you're saying is that on the ballot, we'll have the entire charter change, but there'll be a few fundamental questions that we know are going to be of great interest. So,
And the charter can
And
be
we can
posted
put
at
them
the
out.
town office for voters
Yeah.
to peruse prior to the election if they so choose.
I agree with that. I think I want the people to
Or on
decide.
the website or social media, all those.
Yeah, I think we can boldface or something, the biggies,
Andy?
Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of, we'll just put the biggies out there and not really get into all the nitty gritty of what we're changing. And first of all, that is not fair to the community. The community should know upfront, every choice you've changed or every decision that you've made to make something change, the community needs to know that. I don't care how small it is, I don't care how big it is. And maybe what you should do is have a community meeting and have folks come. And when you have that meeting, that's where you post, these are the items that we're changing. These are large decisions or big decisions that we're making, and these are not so big, but I feel that if the community could come, you would get a feel for what they feel before you go to any ballot and only tell them bits and pieces of what you want. I don't think that's fair to the voter to only give them a little bit of information and only let them understand the most of what we really want, the information.
As I said, you would post the changes or revisions to the charter at the town office, through social media outlets, through all the different ways of communicating that we utilize in the
We
town
do, but
to
not.
try and inform the voters.
But there are a lot of older folks that don't always come up here or don't use the internet. if they knew they could come to a meeting and someone could bring them here.
I have
At
no
least you're
issue with
giving
that.
them that opportunity to hear it out before they try to come in a short amount of time and vote and read everything you have to say. I do not think that's fair to the community.
I don't think
But-
the intent here, if I could just speak to that one issue, I don't think the intent here is to try and blast something through
I don't
and
think that's
make
the-
everybody unaware of it.
I'm
I
not
mean,
saying that. I'm saying the way it sounds when you're like, we'll just give bits and pieces. The town, and this is the problem that we have in this community, and we've had it for a long time. The message, we are terrible at getting the message out. And as a result, things happen and people find out after the fact. Now, whether some of it's intentional or some of it's not, that depends on who you're talking to, because I know a few things that have been intentional and I know many things that haven't been intentional. And I've been on both sides of that. What I feel like, if you're making these decisions and you're worried about the community, you should invite the community here and go over each change with them and get a feel for what they have to say before you get to the voter's box. Not post it and just hang it up for people to peruse. Really come in here and say to them, this is how it will affect you. This is what we're doing. What are your thoughts?
First thing is, nothing's gonna be. It's gonna be changes this.
At the ballot box?
No, we'll have public hearings, as Deb had mentioned earlier.
Come to this meeting. Not one of them showed up.
Believe me, I
Ask
have,
Roy, how many people come to your council meetings, Roy? Nobody comes anymore,
I know that.
but they want it, when you see them down street, all they want to do is yap, 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 you know?
Believe me.
And I tell them, you want to make changes, come and talk. Oh, that's what you're there for. I said,
Well,
no.
they're not making the changes you are. And that's why even if they don't come, then you have the option to say, you know what, we put it out to the public and you didn't show. Then that's on them, not on you folks making those decisions for them. That's all I'm saying. I think that you owe the community the option to not come. And then if they don't come, you have the right to say, we brought it to the public. You chose not to be here. We're moving forward on this.
These are public meetings and the people I talk to, at least 25 of them, and I told them that we're meeting, you can see it right on the internet. They all got the internet, they get it on their phone, they get it on their computers. And it's a public meeting and anybody is welcome. I mean, we would like to have the.
Of course,
house full of
everybody
people,
would.
you know?
Everybody
We
would,
want
but that's
Everybody's
the,
input in this thing, because we got to get it right. We only got one chance at this and we got to get it right and we got to get it right for everybody, not just 4 or 5, but for everybody.
so the messaging is, even if nobody comes, you should put it out for people to come to the meeting and discuss the change.
And how do you suggest?
Certainly will be, Sandy.
It doesn't matter if people show up, Dick. It
yeah, but
doesn't matter.
Sandy, I think we're doing that now. We're making public notice that we're having a hearing here tonight with town council
I
present.
understand, but when I was hearing that we would set it up to go to the box, people could read what the changes were. You just really have to put it out there, and I just want to make sure that we don't forget that whether people come or not, it needs to be put out there
Well,
first.
how would you suggest that we could put it out there better than what we're doing now?
Not, but I would suggest before you go into writing it at the ballot box, that you have an open forum for people to come and discuss it. If people choose not to show, that was their choice as a citizen not to come and put their input in. But you need to have that. If nobody comes, you still need to have that moment. That's fair to them and it's fair to you guys, because you can say then, we had our moment and you chose not to come. You had your minute to speak your mind and you didn't show up. But you really should make that an option, because a lot of people aren't going to read a whole 2 or 3 pages of all the intricate changes that you're making. They might read 1 or 2. And if something's on the 15th line, they're probably not going to read it because you've stood in line for a half hour to vote. You're getting in that booth. You're not going to read every single thing. You'd be in there. We would never be done voting. We wouldn't know for 3 days who won anything because they would have to count it after. So we have to think about it. That's all I'm saying. It's just think about the voters and the citizens of the community first.
Thank you, Sandy.
David Costa, taxpayer resident.
in this process, I know you're going to have public hearings. I don't know if there's going to be multiple ones, but after you start the public hearing, can you make changes to what you've proposed? Because my question would be, if a bunch of people show up at the public hearing and voice their opinion one way or the other on this issue, can you change it at that point before it goes to ballot?
Anthony?
Yes, that can be done. And Dave, is all dependent upon the timing of the hearings. I mean, you could have a hearing before you determine what is going to be on the ballot, and then you can have a hearing after, even after that, in order to just try to educate and illuminate the electorate even more so.
I think if we voted tonight, say, okay, we're going to have term limits. And then we're going to have a hearing in 2 months. And the subject will come up again. I think that we can amend how we voted on a certain issue and change the language of the decision that we made after a hearing.
David, excuse me, Anthony, can the council change the charter if they find that it's inappropriate or something like that? Can they make a provision?
No, only the voters can
Only the
approve
voters.
changes to the charter.
Okay.
But to answer a question that you had earlier, you could, I forget who proposed this, you could have your repeal and replace, and then you could have separate ballot questions on particular topics. So in other words, you could say, do you approve of this being added to the charter along with the repeal and replace?
We could, for that matter,
And we had
you know,
David
the-
up
the
here.
major items, we could just boldface so that they come to people's attention, not the repeal in places, but the major items like term limits and then nepotism.
To clarify, when you repeal and replace, you're not going to have the entirety of the charter on the ballot. It's going to be a simple question, sort of like your school budget validation question.
So the
Do
law,
you approve of the recommendations of the
Yes.
Charter
so
Commission?
the charter, yeah, the language is shall the municipality approve the charter revision or new charter recommended by the charter commission.
Point of order. Go ahead, David.
I did have one other question, because you did talk about, could the council put that one issue out as a referendum? And I thought I heard some people saying, so they could.
Yes. So there are two ways to have a referendum on the ballot. One is by citizen initiative, and the other is the council determines that something's going to be put before the voters.
So if we could do that, maybe that's something that we should do separately from the charter, if it can be done that way.
Yeah.
As well as the charter committee, if they voted, they could have that put on as a referendum vote as well. It wouldn't have to necessarily be the town council. It could be this charter commission.
Correct.
I mean, I'm finding myself,
Hold on. We've got Steve McDermott online. That's been raising his hand for 20 minutes. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, yes.
Yeah, I just think a couple things. The conversation that we're having now is pretty far adrift from the agenda item, and I wonder if there's an opportunity to bring us back to the agenda item as posted, but also wanting to highlight that tonight was not posted as a public hearing. The way that you're gathering public input can be facilitated in really great ways to encourage people to come give direct feedback once they understand what your line of thinking is. It can be really hard and intimidating for community members to make proposals and comments not knowing where the conversation is going. So I saw in the chat that there's a comment that red line version being available to the public ahead of time with where your positions are, thinking initially would be available for public hearings and helpful, and also thinking about the timing of your public hearings so that they're not necessarily held on Wednesday nights or Tuesday nights at 7 or 6 p.m. when working people with families might be, as in my case, finishing up bedtime or cleaning up dishes. But what are the other times that people might be more available to come give input, and what is a way that they might be able to give input that isn't 3 minutes had a microphone, you know, on camera for people who that might be uncomfortable for. So I appreciate the rich conversation tonight, and just wondering if maybe this conversation about the function of bringing the proposal to the townspeople is better suited for an agenda item in the future when you either have, you've been given some options ahead of time for you and community members to study and review, or also get input from the town attorney on what the multiple pathways are, whether those are citizen initiated referendum, council identified voting issues, or otherwise. Again, thanks for the conversation. Happy to answer any questions or provide additional context if helpful.
Thanks, Steve, too. I got dishes at my house when you're all done. I think when I'm hearing, and I made a comment, somebody might have mentioned that you guys are changing the charter. I think it's to really review the charter and see if it's necessary to change. You guys don't have to make changes hard and fast. I mean, I listened when somebody says, you know, we're here to change that. You're here to review the charter and make changes necessary to get it up to date. So if things aren't needed to be up to date, then you guys know this. You probably just leave sleeping dogs lie, right? But I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that your charge was to review it and change as necessary. So we don't have to interject all kinds of these different ideas and into this stuff and complicate it any more than we need to. But I think that's just what maybe popped in my head when somebody says, "Oh, we need to change it." Oh, we do need to review it. I think it's really what the term. So thank you.
Thank you, James.
Dickie, you said, what's the best way to get the message out? So I just asked Anthony, the school has that line that will say, like, report cards are coming out or whatever. They used to send them out to when I was in school, I got the notifications all the time, the automatic notification from the school department. Maybe one of you, since they don't like that to happen, maybe one of you on the board could approach the superintendent and say, we really would like to get this word out. Can we use that system to let people know that we are having a hearing on proposed changes for the charter? That would connect you to all the families with little kids. It would get the message out there. At least they would know about it from picking up their phone and hearing it. And if she would approve it, that might be a great way to meet a lot of young families in this community.
Deb, didn't we do that to get this first charter commission meeting kicked off? We checked with her. Thought you did, or Anthony
Yeah,
did.
she said, but if you
So she said she went.
doesn't like, people don't like to be bombarded, but if you approached her with a plan that we really need to get this out to the community, maybe she would, if you bent her ear and gave her good reasons, maybe she would listen to you.
Well, maybe our town manager would get the police department with those little signs they put up, please vote today here. Put one out on Main Street here and put one at the town dump. A lot of people go to the dump on
That's a good
Thursdays.
idea.
Put one up here, that
Yeah.
there's gonna be a committee meeting, please come and join in.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do.
We actually did that for the first public hearing that you guys had.
So done,
Maybe we ought to have it for all these meetings.
maybe
We
reach out
got
to
the thing sitting in the
businesses
highway garage down there.
and like Hannaford or all the pizza shops or Ted's Trackside and have them put a message out somehow, work with the business people in the community to get the message out. I mean, there's always ways.
Good idea.
So I just thought of that when I was.
We
sitting
have to
there.
figure a way to get people here. You say local businesses. I had Deb make me some posters for the first charter commission meeting. I went myself to Audette's, Hannaford, the post office. What better place to go? Most people go get their mail every day, right? Especially if they're expecting a check. But to several different businesses and posted it where, Tavern on the Hill, Ted's. What do we have for attendance? The same as you have as a council meeting,
It- it's
but we're trying. I'm just saying, we're trying.
I'm just saying, maybe we just need to keep trying harder, like something will click. If they knew something was going to affect them, people show up for that.
Yep.
There isn't in your voice, Sandy.
What are we gonna do with trim
I
lines?
do anything. I look at me, I'm looking to get people to show up at these meetings.
We appreciate it.
What you have thought.
I kind of like the idea.
But we got to get back to term limits, so
That would
we got
be
to get back
something
on track.
that we could break out in the vote, in the vote about the charter. That could be something, we're gonna have our, what did you say, Anthony? Repeal and replace, or just repeal? And that's all kind of routine, no major changes. And then a separate section for 5 or 6 or 7 items that we think it might be controversial that the citizens want to look at directly. We could split that vote up. I agree with Anthony that we don't want to have 100 questions, but for 5 or 6 things like term limits, there's no reason we can't.
So as I understand, Andy, what you're saying is an option is when we put out to referendum the changes we have in there for this specific section, whether or not the community, we give them 2 options, that is something we can do.
So when you say 2 options,
Term limits, no term.
oh, well, it's just a yes, no question.
And that can be without a determination here.
Well, I mean, you would determine whether to put it on the ballot, as Deb said earlier. I mean, that's the Charter Commission's call. And one thing I would, and I think Gil mentioned this in an email a couple of months ago. One thing I think you folks need to be cognizant of is not to put something in the charter that the community may find to be politically unpalatable. Because what you don't want to do is work on this document for a year and then have it shot down because there may be some lightning rod issues included in it that people don't like. So if you want to test the waters, I think what Aaron just suggested and what's been discussed here is a good option to that.
I mean, it seems like if we pick out those half dozen items that might be extremely controversial, and we take the point, one of our citizens, might have been Sandy or Jim, said, people are just going to look at this thing and blow through it and agree or disagree. And we can avoid that by picking out the important changes like term limits and maybe even the nepotism thing and just listing them separately. So do you agree with the new town charter? And then these items are new. Do you agree with these items? We can do that. That's legal. Then that's what we should do.
I think, any more discussion? I'd like to make a motion. Any more discussion, Mr. Chairman?
Any discussion, any further discussion on term limits? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we do include this in the charter as a separate line item, or whatever we can come up with to make it legal, make it right, so it's not all in a 200-page thing where it's going to be hidden someplace, where it's right out in plain sight and they can see it and the public can vote either yes or no.
The town clerk has some questions about this. So what I would say is before you take any action, let us consult with the town attorney just to ensure that we're on the right track.
I'm wondering, Anthony, is it at some point in time, are we going to be able to talk to the town attorney directly? Get us an idea on some things here?
Yes, and at the same time, everything that you guys have proposed, I've sent to the town attorney. He's issued his commentary on it, and then I provide that back to you. So
Anthony, can we?
So he hasn't been here, but
we-
he's part of the process all along.
So, I mean, so there shouldn't be a problem if we do make the motion, pass it, and then just confer with the town attorney.
So my comfort level, let's talk with the attorney first before we take action.
I disagree. I think
You too?
I'll make a motion on section 201, number of election terms, that the town council, anyone elected to town council can serve no more than 4 consecutive terms. They can relinquish that term at the end of their 4th election, sit out because elections come up every year, and rerun for another 4 years. But I think that there has to be some limits on the amount of time, and I'm willing to instead of 3-year terms, I mean, 3 times or unlimited amount of times. You get me? You understand? Somebody,
I would have left it
Okay.
at 3. I did 4 as a kind of a middle road
okay,
suggestion.
I would, no, wait a minute. We have 2 motions on the floor, okay?
Throw a few
I'm
more
I'm
out
the
there.
first one. Now, Anthony thinks we ought to talk to the town lawyer, okay? My motion, I can add into my motion that I would like to have it put on the ballot as separate line item, nice and easy, that people can see it. As long as we've run it by the town manager, the town lawyer, and make sure it's legal. And then let's do that. So
What is it that you want to put on the town
I
ballot?
want to put the
election terms.
election terms.
Whether or not there should be
Right,
term limits or
Right.
not.
right.
How long?
Remains the same, yeah, in like,
I would.
Part of your motion,
I'm
right?
sorry, but
would be.
I would do 3 year. 9 years is a long time, I
It
think,
is.
but that's my opinion.
That's your motion.
That's my motion. Approval by the town attorney to make sure that what we're doing legal. If the town, a lawyer says, no, you can't do it that way, then we'll revisit it.
I
That's
think
my motion.
if the town lawyer objects to it, he needs to come in and talk to us and give us a path forward.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
Discussion?
Yeah, I would like to see this thing go out to the voters. Repeal, replace and update as the first section. Second section is the 2, 3, 4, whatever we have, new items. Okay, so there'll be maybe 5 boxes to check off. We have the nepotism, we have the, term limits, maybe something else is going to come up. I'm really uncomfortable. I mean, if it comes down to having to make a decision, I will, but I'm kind of uncomfortable making a decision on term limits and nepotism, particularly since they're going to have a direct effect on some of our current serving personnel. So maybe we should just leave it to the voters.
That's what.
I have a comment about this discussion. I think you need to keep in mind that your job as elected officials is to present the community with a document that you feel is a solid document going forward. The time to get the feedback from the community is prior to presenting a final draft of a document to the voters. It is good to have, because it is a lengthy document and you're proposing several changes, to split it into 2, 3, 4, 5 different sections, but it's not going to work where you would put to the voters, do you approve of a 3-year term limit in section 3, or do you not approve of that? That's not what they're going to be voting on. You need to determine that, how you want that document to read prior. That's your job as elected officials, and then it's their job to vote on that. So I have no problem with you splitting it up, and I think the town attorney would agree that that's a great idea, make it much less confusing, but the goal here for you is to develop a working document that you feel is in the best interest of the town. And then the voters can vote section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however you split it, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, but they're not going to be choosing between, would you like this or would you like that? You need to come to them with what you recommend. Just food for thought.
And I think that's what the motion is basically do you want to approve term limits of 3 terms, a total of 9 years in service?
So it would be section 201, Deb, that we would rewrite to incorporate no more than 3 terms.
Yes.
Do you want to
Have a motion,
append?
take right on the floor.
Huh?
Make that
It's just a
citizens initiative vote
rewriting of section 2.
Separate.
separate from the charter, right, Dick?
Motion was just to make it part of the whole thing or make it separate? Okay.
Make it easy so people can read it. Like Sandy says, you make that thing 15 pages long.
I agree. I'll second your motion.
Already been.
Yeah.
I'll third. your
This is,
Still in discussion, right?
this is discussion phase.
Get done.
Isn't that a function of the town council to bring that up for a vote, or citizen initiative? Is this a charter commission?
As it is on the, I think that this motion is on right now, it would be a function of the charter revision, something that is not going to touch the council. Right. So it would be on, if I'm understanding, with the approval of the town attorney, was what I'm understanding is that this would be a separate standout section approving or not. And put,
So we're presenting a charter and other pieces of the charter for vote.
into, like, pulling it out, kind of like, there's the charter and then there's this piece of the charter.
So it would say like real,
I just don't know what happens if it fails. That's my question. It just reverts.
Fails, it stays the way it is.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah,
I mean, it's-
I'm fine.
What do you,
repeal, replace, and update, and then it's new items and significant changes. We could end up with maybe 5 boxes on the ballot.
I'm sure the details could be worked out. I don't think it's that complicated.
Andy?
I have a question for you, Jim. Like, I need clarification. So you guys became a committee to review the charter.
Correct.
Are the concerns that we're raising here and the nepotism, the length of anyone can serve in a certain time, were those issues that people brought to you as a group from the community?
Yep.
It's a prior meeting.
So community members, that's where this all came from?
That's right.
Or
Yeah.
was it from you as a group discussing the things that,
No, from community members.
so community members came to you with nepotism, with the length of term limits, all of that? Okay.
So are we gonna vote on this motion, or we gotta get moving? No, no.
So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? All against?
This is with the changes, just keep that in mind. Council members shall be registered voters of the town and shall reside in the town during their term of office. They shall hold no office of emolument or profit under the town charter or ordinance. If a council member shall cease to be a registered voter of the town or be convicted of a Class A, B, C, or D crime, his or her office shall immediately become vacant. This section is also where the town manager had put in notes, the nepotism clause would be in this section.
And discussion on nepotism.
I think it should get put on when we put this out for vote, it should be one of those items listed as a yes, no, just like term limits.
And how do we define nepotism? I guess that's going to be the big key. A gentleman has 2 kids and they're adults and they can't run, but then he gets divorced and remarried to a lady with 4 kids and now they can't run. So now we're taking all kinds of people out of the potential pool of runners.
I think it was just blood relatives.
Oh,
Well, there's different degrees of relationship.
we're going to need to hire a genealogist.
Yeah. But there are different degrees of relationships that you could state within that, which the state uses for employment opportunities if you so choose to go that direction. There's nothing in the state law as far as legislature and nepotism. Okay? So you're not going to reference that.
And so I'm also just going to put into the record the town server for other municipalities stuff for nepotism. The only town, Orono, is considering something, I guess, on nepotism. All the other towns, Herman, Lewiston, Lincolnville, Winterport, Madison, Farmington, Castine, all have no restrictions.
Nepotism. A few things on that. I know financial institutions, most of them, there's no nepotism. I know businesses, there's no nepotism. And I know it's the Steels and they're wonderful people. Their grandfather and father was the best industrial arts teacher we ever had in Winthrop. Heck of a nice guy, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to tell you a little story about out in Wayne. Probably going to be sorry about this.
Excuse me, could you speak into the microphone a little bit more?
They had a problem out in Wayne with their fire department. And they had a father and they had a son. And they took that thing over. And what they did, it was not right. And it lasted for much longer period of time than it should had. And it took quite a lot for the townspeople to straighten out the mess. And it was a mess. And now these people, they've lived here their whole life. They're wonderful people. They're doing the best they can. And I think their heart's in the right thing. But it's not just you guys. What's going to happen in 10 or 15 years? We don't know. And I'll tell you, you can ask any old fireman out in Wayne about what went down there. And it was horrible. And that's just my opinion. Again, I know businesses, financial institutions, there's no nepotism. And I have heard, and the only reason why I'm bringing this up, because it was one of the issues. I hear it a lot. And like I tell them, the Steele kid, he's a good kid. He's a smart kid. He's but I hear it and people are funny. It's just the way that it is. And I think they've done a great job. I think they're doing a good job. But I hear it a lot on the streets and it's just behavior of people, different opinions.
It may be more about the perception of nepotism.
Right. They think, well, we're going to vote, and weigh the vote towards this or weigh the vote towards there. That is just human nature.
An awful lot of people voted for him.
Right. Now, I've seen
Is it the same amount of people complaining?
I've seen the young fella against his father tonight, saying he didn't see this way. But not everybody sees that. That's all I have to add.
I just think we'd throw it out there, just like we were thinking of doing with the just put that, just let the voters decide.
I think it's a loaded question, if you ask me.
Hold on, Zach, just one second. I think it's obviously it's a valid concern. I think we've heard discussion to the thoughts about why it might not exist. But I do think if we are going to consider a recall mechanism within the charter, that it could address this situation in the sense that if someone gets in that position and that situation occurs, that we see a trend or the voters see a trend that they are uncomfortable with and decide they want to initiate a recall. If we have that mechanism in there, I think that may serve as a good compromise. Instead of strictly saying no to whatever we decided. That's just my thought.
Do I have the floor? Yeah, okay.
ahead.
Yeah, where Aaron says, I'd be fine with that if you wanted to have something to recall it, right? If you want to put that provision in there, obviously you need to have some X amount of like votes and percentage, right? But I think it was Carrie who said that we need to do more research. I went and pulled and just from a legal standpoint, right? That leaving me and him out of it. You guys really can't write anything wise on public election because it's an appointment thing, right? And so public elections, public election. So you cannot bar anyone from being on and serving if they get voted in. Same with a write-in candidate, right? So this all stuff happened in the 70s with the Kennedys, like at the federal level, and they can't pass things in order, right, to prevent other people being on certain committees and stuff because it's a public election. So if the voters vote, they vote. And I understand your concern about the future proofing, but in the same time you future-proof things, right, you can cause other issues, right? So it's not a one-sided coin when it comes to that, right? You could cause a different issue, right? I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I think that since I've been on, things have been going well and there's no conflict of interest and there's already mechanisms in place, right, to recuse myself from those things because that's what legally we're supposed to do. So there's already provisions in place to stop that. And I guess just my final point here is that I understand you guys talking about this and I think it's fine, but from a legal standpoint, I think we're wasting the attorney's time and we're wasting really a lot of taxpayers' time discussing things we can't write in law. So I'll leave it at that. So it's not legal. And if this does get into the charter, I mean, I will go publicly say, hey, this is not legal. And then, and then all this work is to waste. So I just encourage you guys to kind of think about it from that perspective is that, are we writing rules for the betterment? Or are we just writing rules? So, because there's a difference there. So,
Question.
yeah.
Threatening us that if we put this in the law, that you're going to go and get a lawyer? Is that?
No, it's not a threat.
is
No,
that
I
what you're
won't.
saying?
I would never sue the town.
Because I think you're wrong.
I'm not
On the
incorrect
nepotism,
with that.
because I know I've been told other municipalities do have it. I'm not saying I'm going to vote for it one way or another.
Yeah, that's fine. But those aren't legal. They can write whatever they want in the charter. It doesn't mean it's legally barring.
Well, I don't think you and I are lawyers, but
I
think
checked
it
with a
is.
lawyer before I came up here.
Yeah,
I do
well,
my homework. So
check with my lawyer too.
all right, well that's fine. We can talk about it if you want. But I'm just telling you.
Jamie?
Yeah.
Battle of the lawyer bots.
James Steele. So you look up the definition of nepotism, right? It can be family, it can be friends, it can be an associate. I think many people are sitting here at this charter commission are friends, family members, associates. So, I mean, you can already have a two-pocket vote going on to most anything, right? As you did here tonight. I mean, you just talked about term council, or term limits. You guys already had discussion about some of that, and you already kind of had the votes going in. But so I think that really, when you think about it, and I think, Dick, I really thank you for making one of my points I was going to make is me and my son don't see eye to eye. And I challenge you guys with any of your kids, if you have kids, you may not see eye to eye on any other topic. But I think it's a good thing for the community to have people, younger people who are interested. I think even Bruce told me himself he voted for my son in the last election. So, I mean, and for you to bring this up now, it just seems kind of silly. I think Zach saw it and he's shown it to me. It is state law. You can't take somebody's right to run and somebody's right to vote for the candidate that they want. So I really want to look at that. And you talk about conflicts of interest, which I've been now serving for, 4 budget cycles too. And I just realized tonight with Andy was talking tonight, saying we do vote on the school board and his son gets paid on the school board and he's voted for it. So he probably should be recusing himself from that because that's a conflict of interest, right? So how far do we go into this and dig deep into this? Again, I go back to it. It's a review of the charter. If he feels it's necessary to make a change, to take a peek at it. Steve just mentioned to me too, there's a family member, it's the husband and wife up in, and I think he's in Hamden, that serve on the council together. But people could have not voted Zach in when I'm on there. People have the right not to vote me on there, seeing Zach's on there. But I challenge you, we haven't voted lockstep on everything. And our voter record will prove that. So I think it's just people look at it. So, I mean, just really think about before you just start putting things in there to have people look at it and vote on it. If they didn't want it, they would have not have voted us in. They really wouldn't, they had every opportunity. It was out in the open. We didn't hide it. We never, people ask me, is that your son? Absolutely. Is that your dad? Absolutely. We never hid it one step of the thing, even at the forums and everything. So, and I'm just saying it. I mean, I just think you really are adding things that are unnecessary. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, what do you got?
So you keep saying that people still vote for you, it doesn't matter. So if it was on the charter, why would it matter?
Because I wouldn't have the legal right to nor if he was on it, or nor would he would have the legal right to run if I was on it. That's why it matters.
I wish you'd get down around and talk to some of these people that I see.
Dick, there's a lot of people, I'll say you
Why
this.
should come down and spend a Saturday morning at the dump?
I'm here on every meeting. I'm here this meeting, and people can come up here and have a discussion with me, and I'm around at most sporting events, every other event, I'm around, and people could come up and to have a discussion. If anything, everybody says, we think it's great. So for the handful of people that are talking to you saying maybe nepotism, I got a handful of people saying it's the best thing ever that you've got a younger generation coming in through here that has a good interest in this community to better the community and move it towards the new turn of the century. So,
Okay,
I mean, I think that's where I think at it. So thank you.
thank you, Jane. Sandy?
So I'm gonna I didn't really want to like do this tonight, but I'm frankly a little pissed off at what's going on here. But I'll face it, and I have had everybody come to me, Dickie, and ask about my husband and my son, and I told them straight up, like, it's your choice. But they don't stand for the same thing. And if you study them and you research them, you're gonna know that around our dinner table, it is always a discussion and no one ever agrees on anything. And that's the beauty of it, because then you get different ideas going. But I'm gonna go back to the definition. So for you, Dickie, do you have, on this board, are you related to anyone or have any family connections with anybody on this board? Right. So is that not
My son,
is
I'll
that
tell you
not
right now,
nepotism?
My son? No. I'm not
Why isn't
related to
it?
him. My son married Jim's daughter.
It doesn't matter. You're still connected. And that is nepotism, right? But listen, it is, Dickie. It's all about perspective, isn't it? Because I look at that as nepotism. My perspective from that is nepotism.
Okay.
Bruce and Mick rode here tonight in a car together. It's all perception. I could say, hey, what are they riding together here to this meeting for? It's all perception. Andy, I've seen on your Facebook pop up things with Carrie. I've seen pictures of her on your Facebook. So it's all perspective or perception of what I see. Do you know her? Do you talk?
This is not a good road to go down.
You know what? It isn't a good road, but my family is
Be
being
warned.
placed. I'm warning you because you spoke about my family at a meeting and used names.
Jim,
So I'm asking you
Jim,
all,
you gotta
Jim,
shut this down.
I'm asking you all to think long and hard about what nepotism is. And all of you here possibly have a reason to be looked at as well. It's not just for the Steele family. It is for every board and every person, like your son being on the school board. That's nepotism. You know, you can dig in deep. You're not going to surface this with just my family. If we go this road, we're going deep. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Sandy.
Understandable.
Exactly.
Try not
The
to,
taxpayers don't know.
Andy, Sandy?
Taxpayers don't know.
We
They
need to
don't
move on.
know, Dickie.
Funny, we got the same last name. I think I know.
so I think at this point, I think I'm going to make a motion. But to acknowledge, I mean, what Sandy says is right. I mean, this is a small town. There are very intertwined. It's just the nature of the beast. Everybody knows a lot of everybody, and that's probably how you got into this position to begin with. But I do think that recognizing and having a recall portion of this, which is not under this, I don't believe this would be under this article. Is that correct, Anthony? That's something we would deal with down the line.
So it depends. I sound
Okay.
like an attorney now, don't I?
Yes, you do.
Are you talking about recall of council members?
Yes. Can we,
School board members or both?
I think we should do it as a one, any elected official
Yeah.
situation.
Okay, then you'd probably want something in Article 2 and Article 4, but right now you're looking at Article 2. So if you're looking at provisions for recall elections, for counselors, then that would be in Article 2. It'd probably be its own section. I will tell you, there is a provision in state law for the recall of municipal officials, but the circumstances are pretty narrow. And that is that a crime has to be committed against the municipality by the elected official while that official is serving in office. So that's the only grounds under state law to have a recall election.
So
But the charter would get, but if you look at other charters or other communities, they do have ordinances that allow for recall for a number of different reasons, like not showing up for meetings, so forth.
So I would make a motion to present section 202 as amended, so as it was read, with the knowledge that we can add in a recall section moving forward.
I second.
Any discussion?
So the qualifications would stay the same right now. So there's not, I wouldn't be saying, so nothing specific about nepotism, but we're going to put in a section about recalling council members in the process, because right now we don't have that process. So that way, if you thought, for instance, if Zach or James, if you felt that they were being inappropriate, then you could then initiate the recall process.
Taking nepotism.
Equation, yeah. Yeah,
Adding a recall into.
kind of as a catch-all. Yep.
Explain myself.
Any other discussion?
We get a second.
We did. All in favor?
Section 203, power and duty. The members of the town council shall be the municipal officers of the town of Winthrop. With a subsection 203.1, they shall appoint and remove for just cause the town manager, assessor, and town attorney, and/or law firm, members of all boards, committees, and commissions appointed by the council and the trustees of the Winthrop Utility District and the Cobussy Watershed District, period. Section 203.2, by ordinance, create, change, and abolish offices, departments, or agencies other than the Board of Education.
Profit. Is what so we did the nepotism, conflicts of interest, Article 2. So in looking at, it's a conflicts of interest right here, section. for conflicts of interest. But when you look at the town council code of ethics, it's pretty much covered there. It's along with the state statute for municipal officials. Sorry, Andy. Basically, state statute governs conflicts of interest for municipal officials, which prohibit officials from voting on contracts in which that official has a direct or financial interest, and requires officials to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. Also prohibits municipal officers from being appointed to or employed in any civil office of profit if that office was created during the official's term, or if the level of compensation was increased during their term. So what the town attorney recommends is that we just reference the state statute as in the charter. And it's also covered in the town council code of ethics. Any discussion on that? Public comment on that? Roy?
So based on, after watching the last meeting, I'm assuming that this was to address a situation regarding myself and the purchase of a lawnmower from the town, which was done under the purchasing policy that we'd created at the council. Wasn't it, Dick? Because you filed an FOAA, you found out everything was all set? Okay. So I would caution as far as the contracts and, if anything, something like that right there, I mean, it's bid based. They went out and got 3 bids. I happen to be the lowest. Who's the foolish one? I sold the mower. At that point, I'm providing a piece of equipment to the town at the lowest possible price that out of the 3 bids. So that is, in fact, the best deal the town's going to get. So I guess my concern is, I guess my question is where this whole conflict of interest thing came from. What was the discussion? Where did it originate?
We had nothing in the charter to address conflicts of interest. We added this last section in Article 2 to address that. And I think most of the people on this commission, I can speak for myself and maybe a few others that I know, I'm all for business people doing business with the town, that live in this town, that support this community. The
It's a
purchasing
small
policy
community,
gives you a
right.
5% edge on a competitive bid.
Yep.
If you're within 5%, you win the bid. I think that's great.
Yeah. So, I guess my caution is we have a small community.
Yeah.
We have the people that are members of all the boards, members of the council, members of, they're involved in businesses. They're involved, a lot of businesses in town. And to limit that in order to serve is tough. As far as voting, if there's a conflict of interest as far as.
And that's why we
voting
added
the
that
best
mainly.
order- Okay.
That's because, let's say the town of Winthrop wants to buy 20 zero-turn mowers.
Yep.
Roy, you can't vote on that contract. You got to remove yourself from the room or sit in the audience because you can't vote on that. And that's what we want to cover. You need to recuse yourself from that vote on that contract, right?
However, I should,
You can
as
bid
a
it.
business
We
owner, I
want-
should be able to provide a bid.
You should.
And
yeah,
that should not
absolutely.
be
Yeah.
considered a conflict of interest.
That's providing a bid is.
Just like buying, the other example that's been mentioned, and I've heard it from other people, is buying the police cruiser that went on to a national government surplus website, and I bought the cruiser off from a national, it was govplanet.com. Anybody from California, from Alaska, from Europe could have bought the thing. And I just happened to be the highest bidder, which again was foolish. And the only reason that I bid that high is because I bought it for my stepson and he wanted it.
Yeah.
So, I've heard it from a few people. I'm I'm thinking that that's where some of this conflict of interest discussion originated from, and I would just like to address it. That's all.
Wait a minute, Roy, before you go away.
Yeah.
Did this come up from the last meeting? I want you to know I wasn't here in the last meeting. I was sitting in a hospital bed in
I
Boston.
know you were.
All
yeah.
right? And I had no thing. I'm going to tell you my opinion about this.
Yep.
I agree with what Jim says. You want to sell the town, I don't care what you sell them. But you shouldn't be voting on it. You should be
Absolutely.
sitting over here and the town council
Right, that's-
should vote on it.
That's why those states.
Absolutely.
And that's and that's fair.
I
That's
100%
fair game.
In that case, I would never
But
vote
you
for
shouldn't
something
be
like
voting
that.
on it, or if I was sitting here and I said, we're gonna buy a oil truck or whatever it is, I'll sell you one, I shouldn't be voting on it.
Absolutely.
Isn't that what this is for?
That's fine, and I
what
think that's
this,
fair.
Okay.
And I
That's
think
what
that's
this
good
addition to
business.
the charter covers, Dick and Roy. That's exactly what it covers.
Right.
That the council member should recuse himself from a vote on that bid. However, can submit the bid, but naturally, you're not gonna.
I just, my concern is
It's
eliminating,
quite a bit of common sense, in my opinion.
absolutely, but there's been some concern spoken about it, and I just would like to address it publicly.
Yep. Thank you, Roy.
Thanks.
Been a lot of talk about it.
Roy,
Thank you, Dick.
yeah, Roy, if you remember, when we first started that, we never had a purchasing policy. And then we built a purchasing policy. And if you remember, kindly, I was the one that said that we ought to give local businesses a 5% advantage in bidding. So I'm certainly not one of the people that has a problem with you selling things to the town as a conflict. I'm the one that came up with, let's give the local guys the extra 5% edge. So
Retail manager.
that's it. I'm good.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion. So the motion will be to basically approve the rest of Article 2 as it's presented here, with the corrections, along with adding in the state statute on conflicts of interest to be referenced within that section. And then an adoption of a recall process, which I believe probably would be best served if the town manager consulted with the town attorney and then come back to that.
I second that motion.
Any discussion?
The motion.
All in favor? Thank you, Aaron. I thought you were singing the. Item 17, review of Article 3. Town manager. Oh, give me that section, would you? I got it. Section 301, town manager, chief administrator. The town manager shall be the chief administrative officer and the head of the administrative branch of the town government. Just changing this, he or she shall serve, it's a tough one, as treasurer and tax collector. Just adding a separate line item for that sentence on section 301. The section 301(1) point prescribe the duties of and when necessary for the good of the service, remove all officials and employees of the town, except as otherwise provided herein, and except as he or she may authorize the head of a department or office to appoint and remove subordinates in such departments or offices. Section 301(2), he, she shall prepare and submit the annual town budget. We will change the date there. Prior to March 1st, it says December 31st as it stands today. Of any given year, the annual capital program and fiscal financial administrative reports to the council. He shall prepare an annually revise, instead of a 5-year capital program, revise a 10-year capital program. So just adding that change as well. Section 3013. He shall prepare and submit to the council as of the end of the fiscal year, a complete report on the finances and administrative activities of the town for the preceding year, and cause such annual town report to be published and made available to the public as promptly as possible. And I'm going to ask Deb, what is a good time frame for you, Deb, as town clerk?
So the town report is required by law to have several different things in it, but two of the most important things are we must have a completed audit, and we must include delinquent taxpayers. And so the delinquent taxpayers are no problem. We can get that listed right off real quickly at the end of the fiscal year. But we are at the mercy of the auditors to get that report. So sometimes it comes in very early and other times it comes in late, depending on how the audit goes. I did double check with MMA Legal, and as long as I get it to the voters, make it available to the residents, make it available legally 3 days prior to the November election when we elect our council members, I'm good to go. Having said that, that's never going to happen because I'm going to get it done much early. I'm at the mercy of receiving articles from department heads and what have you, but I don't really think you should set a timeline on that.
As promptly as possible is good.
Yeah, I think that's good practice, and that's what I intend to do. And going forward, that's what a clerk should intend to do. But it is at the mercy of the audit.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to see what your thoughts
Yeah,
were.
I like the phrase as it is.
Great. We'll leave it alone. So in section 3014, he or she shall attend meetings of the council and keep the council advised of the financial condition and future needs of the town and make such recommendations as may seem to him or her to be advisable or desirable. Section 3015, see that all laws and ordinances governing the town are faithfully executed. Section 3016, act as a purchasing agent for all departments of the town except the school department. Some comments and maybe some changing some verbiage on that section. Now that we have a purchasing policy in place, it's kind of outdated, as Anthony said. As the department heads are responsible for their purchases and for acting within the guidelines of the purchasing policy within their respective budget, the town manager holds them accountable for doing so in both instances. So maybe this section should read as follows. Town manager shall hold all department heads accountable to follow the purchasing policy of the town while staying within the budget of their respective department. Anthony, Deb, do you want to comment on that? Oh, you have, sorry.
I think that worked just fine.
Dick?
Yeah, I think he's got enough to do. And I think the department heads, smart enough people to go ahead and if they need a new dump truck to go out and get their bids and everything, because the town council's going to vote for it anyways. But I think that the department heads should have the right to go ahead and bid out whatever they need to purchase with the approval of the town council.
I believe they do today.
Respectfully disagree. They need to consult with the town manager on matters such as purchasing a new dump truck. It's a large expense. The town manager serves as the treasurer of the organization, chief executive officer, chief administrative officer. We don't want any cowboys out there going off and purchasing plow trucks or fire trucks or dump trucks without.
Doesn't our
Could be.
Doesn't our purchase policy address that issue?
Well, so just as a
Expanded
matter of how this whole thing operates is no one would go and do that without working with the town manager and consulting with the town manager because, no one wants to see all of a sudden, surprise, we've got a bid for a dump truck here. Council, will you approve it? So those things just need to be done in coordination. And, there's a capital expense budget that has to be adhered to too. And the town manager is ultimately responsible for that capital budget.
I feel they still would be. I don't see the problem. I mean, they're going to bring it if
So they, regardless of the amount, they still must adhere to the purchasing policy. But ultimately, we want department heads to be working through the chain of command that ultimately ends at the council table.
Hi, guys. Yeah, I think, that was Anthony's point. I think it's usually we don't try to purchase anything unless we the council, not me, but just the council agrees to saying, okay, yeah, we're going to buy something. So I think that's a proper way to do it. You mentioned something, and I didn't do my homework on this one, so I'd like to have you kind of explain it. You said the school board doesn't adhere to the purchasing policy of the town?
Exempt.
Isn't there a way that maybe we could look at that, Anthony?
Or right.
So again, it's kind of a funny structure where the municipal school department does not report to the town manager, does not report to the town council. And so they're not subject to our policies just the same way we're not subject to theirs. And so whether or not the school district has a purchasing policy, I don't know. I'd have to ask the school superintendent about that. I'm happy to do so and report back to you guys, but I don't know what their purchasing policy is or if it exists.
Is that sorry.
I guess my question is, could we write in there?
Is that per state law?
Right, is that something we could
Yeah.
add in saying that they need to develop a purchase policy that each?
In other words, excuse me, does state law delineate that? That there's
Delineate
sep-
whether a school system
No,
must,
do they delineate there's a separation between budgets?
certainly, yeah.
Do they also delineate who is responsible for what? In other words, if the school develops a budget or purchasing and they're theoretically, they're way off in left field someplace. Is there anything the town can do about it?
No. So again, the only authority that the town has over the school budget is what the bottom line figure is that's presented to the voters, and the voters ultimately decide whether or not the school budget is approved or not.
However.
But yeah, should be able to do that, yeah.
So if we.
I guess there was a section in here about the school, because they were here. And I didn't really, like you said, I didn't brush up on it, but isn't there something where they could just, simple statements, they must adhere to at least the town policy, the purchasing policy, not asking them how to
think we
do it,
could
but
put
just to
town,
follow
we
the
could-
policy.
I don't think we could say they have to follow the town policy. I think we could be more general and say
develop a
that
policy?
they must have a policy in place.
I guess that's fair. I
that's
think they should
approved
have
by
something.
their
I think it's just
governing
accountability.
body in a process that.
Yeah, I just think it's important. Thank you.
Didn't the town, when we converted over to energy efficiency with our lighting systems and with our heating systems, didn't we kind of dovetail that with the school district so we could package the whole thing? We did the school first and then we did the town offices and,
No,
I mean, with
this is the only facility we share with the schools. They pay
Unless-
the electric bills,
unless
but
you're-
we did provide for the,
Unless you're talking about
for
the
the lighting.
superintendent's office, because they share.
No, I'm talking about, would it be better for us to incorporate like a major purchase, like heating and air conditioning, energy efficient lights?
That's function of the
yeah, I mean,
management.
I mean, I understand you
uh,
have enough to do, but I mean, the whole idea is to try and bundle a package so we can present it to a vendor.
yeah. So theoretically, yes. Practically, the size of that package financially would have been too large for the schools and the town to undertake. And simply because, Bruce, they didn't have the capital reserves that we had. And
I just was thinking, you know, if we could package it, incorporate both our municipalities and the school, and shop for a better price. You know,
Gonna go like kind of a point of order.
Value.
So I do think this is a worthy conversation. I'm not sure, you know, it belongs in section 301, but there is a lot of, and I know this just from listening and going around and talking to people, there's a very large concern that I do think we have an opportunity to maybe address. I don't know, we'd have to look into it, but whereas the school spending is sometimes it feels like it is outside of the purview of town regulation, if you will. And I think that's where this conversation is coming in and coming from, in looking at ways that we can adopt measures in the charter that make it a little bit more, the school budgeting process more responsive to taxpayers, whether it's, you know, some other way to codify that they have to have purchasing policies or whatever. But I do think that we should probably come back to that at some point.
Through,
you can make the.
through Article
I, I understand the school budget is approved by the taxpayers of the town of Winthrop. And from that point on, as far as I understand, it's up to the school board that approves the expenditures of the monies given to the town. Now, I think we need to know what we're doing, what we're talking about. I think we need the town lawyer at a meeting. I think these few things that we've discussed tonight, I think that we need to sit down, this committee, with a town attorney and run these things by him. I really do.
So we need to revisit Article 4 and invite
He
school
needs to
board
be here. He needs
and
not
the
on
town attorney.
a television and not on a telephone. He needs to be sitting there with.
So we
Ann.
need to get through, first of all, we need to get through Article 3, town manager. So this is, we're off on a tangent and we need to get back on track. Right.
Wrote it down.
Section 301, so back to Article 3, town manager. Section 3017 reads, performs such other duties as may be prescribed by the charter or required of him or her by the council. Not inconsistent with this charter, just changing the wording. Perform such other duties required by him or her by the council, not inconsistent with this charter. So just kind of changing that. It's simple. 3018, prepare an administrative code, submit same to the council, and be responsible for its administration after its adoption. I have no changes there. 3019 reads, he or she shall assist insofar as possible residents and taxpayers in discovering their lawful remedies in cases involving complaints of unfair vendor, administrative, and governmental practices. Just changing some wording there. He or she shall assist to the best of their ability residents and taxpayers in discovering their lawful remedies in cases involving complaints against town contracted services and businesses that fail to meet contracted obligations to the detriment of the town or its residents, as well as administrative and governmental practices. Pretty straightforward and easier to understand than that. Absence of town manager, I will, Anthony, I don't know if you want to address that. You had some comments on that. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think you made some good points on that.
Yeah, I just think that speaks to a time before cell phones and,
Yeah.
and email and the internet. And so, you know, next month when I go down to watch my beloved Bruins play in Boston, I don't think I should have to file a letter with the town clerk putting someone else in charge.
Any discussion on any of these sections in Article 3?
I'll make an motion to,
Favor?
Discussion?
Oh, discussion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is this covering, we're circling back to address this purchase?
Yes, as part of Article 4 with Winthrop Public Schools.
Fine.
All in favor? Article 3? Item number 18 on the agenda, approval of the minutes of September 9th meeting.
Make a motion.
I second.
All in favor? Next steps, item number 19, we'll have to, one of the most recent conversations is to review Article 4 again and invite the chair of the board as well as superintendent, along with the town attorney, so we can get some questions answered concerning budgets and purchasing policies.
So for when I talk to the town attorney, I have some clarity on exactly what it is that this commission is wanting him to answer in regards to the school budget?
Yeah.
Can the, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
You
I
told
will.
me?
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, does that put you in a bad spot?
No, it doesn't, but I'm not an attorney. I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But we do have an elected school board. And I think that.
I think what we were looking at is checks and balances. Consider,
I know, but what I'm saying is they're their own sort of separate body. They have their own elected board, their own state statutes in play. And so I'm not sure that the town council can dictate.
the charter, but the charter should be able to.
They might be their own entity, but they're relying on the taxpayers.
So the charter.
I understand, Mr. Zato, but I'm talking just about from a governance standpoint.
I understand that too.
Would say, I would ask him, or in your case, you could also look and see what other examples where the charter addresses the school department and how it regulates spending or, constraints or checks and balances if something goes astray.
Okay. Okay. So I think I have a clear idea. At the same time, I would encourage you, because I've sent you some examples of other towns' charters, many of them that speak to a municipal school department. You might go through and look at that yourself. I don't recall seeing any such language in any of those charters.
Yes, Dick.
I'm wondering, maybe we could invite, like, we got a lot of the town council members here. If we could maybe invite the school board or the members and let them come in and explain to us so we have a better understanding. How do you spend your money? I mean, what's your policies? So we fully understand before we call this town attorney and waste our money. Why don't we invite them to come in and tell them we have a few questions because we don't know. Can you explain your how you spend your money and your budget, how it works? And then come up with some questions and then have the town attorney. I want the town attorney here. He can ask them, some basic questions, but I want the town attorney sitting in one of these chairs here so we can ask him questions ourselves on this. But I think it would be in our best interest to invite them and let them come in and and educate us on, because I don't think any of us know how they do it.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. And I agree with that. I do think it would be appropriate for the town attorney to be here and the school board and superintendent at some point. And the reason I say that is because over the last, 3 years now, maybe 4, there was a problem with maybe the school board not knowing that answer. And I think that they should know that answer. I think they should know exactly what is being spent. In prior superintendents, actually, it's been a tradition, I think, here for a long time where the superintendents made decisions and then informed the school board what those decisions were without input.
This would not be an inquisition, Anthony, if you're confronting Becky. I mean, we're not looking to,
No, this is just.
we just want to find out with some clarity.
And
So
she has
maybe we
been
can take advantage of purchasing or something like that.
Yeah, or I think to go beyond that, when Dr. Foley came on board as a superintendent, I think I can speak for some of the council, we had significant concerns coming up to that point where we, made them go and come back. But one of the biggest things that or at least my concern, and I think Zach was there quite a bit, was that there really wasn't a budget process like we have. We have budget meetings, people come, they talk, it's open. It wasn't there. And so we basically said, hey, we're not going to recommend your budget to the town voters if there's not a clear process, because there was a lot that had been mismanaged. And this is twice. It has happened twice in the last 20 years where money has been either misappropriated or completely the audit was wrong, or there was monies that, and it's because it's not an open process. I think there's room in this charter to make it a open process.
Yes, and I would want the school board and the superintendent to understand we're not on a witch hunt or anything. We're just trying to get educated on how their budget works. The town gives them the money. We don't know how it works. So we have some kind of a better understanding how it works.
And to avoid the situation we had over the last 2 years where we then had to freeze a budget and then bail it out.
Right. Well, how are we going to make a decision about this if we don't know how the budget works? I can't honestly tell you I can make a good decision without understanding how it works. And the other thing is, I would like to add, I would ask the school to come first. I wouldn't have the town attorney here first. I would have the school department here and explain that to us in one meeting. And then the next meeting possibly, then I would, if we have questions, well, how can we do this? And then have him answer our questions.
Deb, would that meeting be a public meeting with the school board and its members, or?
It would have to be published as, yes, because they would
Yeah.
have a quorum.
Good. We need to get that next meeting scheduled. You want to get that next meeting scheduled before we move forward with other articles in the chapter?
I think it's a good idea. I think that there's a huge concern in town that we need to get that right.
Anthony?
I don't think we have to have a meeting just for that specific question to talk with the school board. I think we can get other business done at the same time. We whizzed through, it looks like aside from the questions that were raised about nepotism and so forth, it looks like we're pretty much done with Article 2. We're done with Article 3.
Yep.
You may want to revisit something on Article 4. I would say, let's schedule the discussion. Let's continue moving forward. Before the end of the week, I will send you updated drafts of Articles 2, 3, and 4. So it's really important that you guys sign on to your emails and that you read those and then let us know if we have missed something, misstated something. But I think we can.
So we can do it in the next regularly scheduled
I
meeting
think so.
and move forward with 5 and 6.
Yep.
Any other business to be discussed? Any other public comment? Absolutely.
They're having one tomorrow night at 6 PM. So if Tim, Tim is still there if you're listening. So this group now knows that there's going to be a meeting tomorrow night, 6 PM in this room, and that as always, the public is invited, and they do also have a public comment session.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:45.
Second.
In favor?